Hello, Jessica here. I am a few minutes late. So sorry. Was trying to figure out something. Let me give it a minute because I know I'm a little late. But today we're going to be talking about jobs that are basically projected to see a lot of growth. So in the next coming years, starting 2021 and beyond up until 2029, I have a couple of jobs and career tracks that are going to be really booming. So I'm going to get to that in just a second. Let me see something here. Nope. Okay. Oh, hello, David. How are you today? Hi, Nurse Gigi. Hello, Pandy. Welcome. How are you guys on this Sunday? Love the emojis. And Paolindo sent a note before the live even started. So hopefully Paolindo is doing well. Hey, Partly Cloudy, what's up? I'm doing well. How are you guys? Just taking a look at some of those comments in there. Cool. Well, welcome. So I guess we can go ahead and get started. So today I just wanted to talk about jobs that are projected to really grow in the coming years. Now, I think some of these jobs you guys are already going to know about. Some of them you may not. Maybe you don't have it really on your radar, but we're going to talk about it and have a little chit chat today. Happy Sunday to everybody. David, yes, you're doing great. Awesome. Partly Cloudy says much love. Very good. Pandy saying hello to everybody. David sounds like he's doing well. I'm doing great. And Edward, hi Edward. Hey, welcome. Okay, I think we got everybody. And Nurse is throwing in a happy face emoji. Love it. Okay, so let's jump into this. And then of course, you guys know how I do this. I will have, my topic and then we can kind of chit chat at the end. So what are, these jobs that are going to be seeing growth? I think a lot of the ones that I have listed are, pretty straightforward. Of course, I'm going to talk about tech. Of course, I'm going to talk about marketing. We see these industries growing like crazy. So I'll jump in though with my number one, and it's healthcare, of course. But in particular with healthcare, we're going to talk about these two. All right, I'm going to put it in the chat and show it up on the screen. So, home health aides, personal care assistants, and of course, registered nurses. And I think Pandy is actually in the healthcare field, so she will probably know all about this. But, the population is getting older and there's going to be more and more need for at-home healthcare for the growing population, and also those with disabilities as well. And also thinking about children. So this is an industry that is going to be growing like crazy. The other thing with this, thinking about the healthcare industry, is just registered nurses. There's already, a demand for nurses. But the BLS, or Bureau Labor Statistics, says that the demand for nurses in the US, that's going to grow by 26%. And the average growth rate for any job is about 3. So we're going to need some nurses. So Pandy, if you are in the nursing field, I don't know if you're a nurse or somewhere in the healthcare field, thank you for, all of your work. But nursing is not easy. You do have to have a degree to get into that field. So, I mean, it's going to be booming. So if you know anyone in school right now, or someone that is looking for a career change, point them in the direction of the medical field for sure. So that was my number one. And then of course the pay for, registered nurses, you're going to be making at least $70K a year starting out. So the pay trajectory is awesome. And there's just like a lot of opportunities. If you want to move outside of the hospitals, you can, do at-home health, or you can even teach others, become an educator. It's great field. Hello, Victoriously Shay. Okay, so this is my number 2, guys. People sleep on this. I don't know why, but sales. Sales is always going to be here. People have products, people have services, they're going to need someone to sell it. Now, where I see sales going, like specific niche sales, are going to be medical, whether it is medical marijuana or if it's medical devices. You're going to need people to sell those products. So people with really, really good sales skills are going to be in demand. And a lot of people work in sales, but not everyone's a good salesperson. So that's definitely one that's going to be booming. The other is going to be tech sales. And, either way you go, medical or technical sales, you're going to be making well over 100K. And you don't need always a degree to get into that field. So, more and more companies are saying like, yeah, you need to have a bachelor's degree, but at the same time, there's big companies that don't have that as a requirement, which I think is important. I really don't think you need a degree for sales, but it just depends on the company. But yeah, that's always going to be there. Okay, Pandy's saying hi to everyone. Thank you, Pandy. All right, so what is my next one? This one might come as a little bit of a surprise. I don't know if I would have thought this would be a growing field, but I'm saying that finance is going to be a growth industry. And the reason I say this is because financial analysts in particular have been growing in demand. And I think with the events that are happening right now, with just it being a tough time, people are really focusing on their financials. And even before, the pandemic, we've been looking at financial analysts and they've been growing at about a 5% rate. I do see that increasing. So if you have really good financial analytics skills, there are a lot of programs where you have like the robo-advisors and things like that, but companies also need financial analysts as well to manage their items. Then a robo-advisor is not going to help with that. So they're definitely going to continue to be in demand. All right, I think I'm on number 3. I'm going to move on to number 4, which is probably my favorite, being that I am a tech recruiter, but technology. And so what type of technology? Well, so here's the thing with tech. I feel like the only way that you can go wrong and not have a job in tech is when you are kind of stagnant. So I've talked to people where they've worked at one company for a really long time and they've been on this one technology that they can do really, really well. That's now at a point where no one's using it. Well, as long as you're, updating your skills, I think tech is a great industry. Where am I seeing all the growth? Like what am I actually recruiting for? What are my hiring managers asking me? What do I see other companies hiring for? Well, if you're looking to get into the tech industry, you need to be learning artificial intelligence and you need to be learning machine learning. So this is really where things are headed. All companies are hiring for artificial or AI, artificial intelligence or machine learning. And then the other thing is data science. That is going to be huge, as well as Internet of Things or IoT. All of that is huge. They want people that can program these different appliances or different tools like your Alexa. Okay, how does your Alexa talk to your phone? Or how does your phone talk to your one-day automated fridge or whatever? Like, that's where technology is going, and there are going to be more and more in-demand jobs for that. Less of your mainframe type of programmers, more of, these folks that can really manage robots and build code to actually get them to a place where they're actually learning about you. So they'll be able to say, like, hey, easy. I said easy because I see you in the comments. Easy is most likely going to want X, Y, and Z. So we're going to give this to him before he can even tell me about it. So that is what companies are hiring for. They want to be able to sell to you. They want to know what you're about to do before you do it. They want to build products that can learn about you and take action quicker than you can even, pretty much think about it. So that is what I have for tech. Some other areas are definitely going to be cloud database management. We got all this data everywhere. Where do you put it? How do we keep it safe? Those people that work in IT security or cloud security. And then the other thing would be, it's called GIS, and now I'm forgetting what it actually stands for, but it's basically geography. I think it's Geography Information Systems or something, but there, if you get a Lyft or Uber, you can see the person driving in your area. Or if you order some food through DoorDash, you can actually see the route, those folks. So we're going to be doing more and more of that. So those jobs will also be an increasing demand. Oh, thanks, Victoriously Shay. I'm glad you said that. Thank you. All right, so tech is my bread and butter, so I could talk about that probably all day, but I'm going to move on to my next one. Not everyone wants to go into tech, and that's okay. The next one on the list is digital marketing. Digital marketing. So what do I mean by digital marketing? I mean everything from social media marketing, folks that can manage someone's Facebook and Instagram page, a company's Facebook or Instagram, Twitter, whatever page, and engage with potential customers, people that can market online, people that understand e-commerce, and all the tools that go along with that, like Salesforce and all these different tools, right? I'm talking about people that know SEO really, really well, Google AdWords, all of that. And of course, I am also talking about traditional marketing folks, but I do feel like the demand is transitioning from your traditional marketers where they're just doing the branding, or they're really good at branding materials on paper for people. We're getting away from that, and we want that all to be online. So that's really where the trend is going. All right, I'm going to pause there because I saw some comments come in, so I'm going to scroll back up for a second. And then I'll get to the rest of my list here. Oh, I missed that comment from Easy. Hello, welcome. Glad you're here. Yes, so Pandy agrees with healthcare. Absolutely, there is high demand. Yes, because I'm sure, and I bet you're talking about the nurses, I'm sure you're feeling it. I am sure, especially right now. Let's see. Pandy and Victoriously Shay, we're talking. Easy says, the VA pays for those who are caregivers. VA also pay around $1,800 a month for each veteran if you have several veterans in your home taking care of patients. Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, definitely. And I feel like home health has always been that thing that you can go to do. There's going to be work in it, but there's going to be more and more as the workforce continues to get older, our baby boomers. So they need people to care for them. Oh, okay. Okay, I see you, Vernes. Thank you. All right, well, I'm going to go back to my list here. Well, the next one is actually something that I just don't think a lot of people think about. I feel like people sleep on this. If you don't need a degree, you just need muscle. I won't be doing this at all, but it's construction. I feel like people sleep on that. We are going to need more construction laborers, and also everything that goes along with construction, people in architecture, people that can project manage these different building projects. That stuff is still going. Like from when I was in New York to St. Louis, Missouri to Texas, I still see building. There is still building, even though people are saying they have no money. They're still building because they're apartment buildings, they're, hospitals need to be built. Everything's continuing to go. And even with the new administration, moving into play, they're going to have a lot of infrastructure too. Like that's typically what happens every single time there's a new administration. They want to focus on infrastructure. We know that the administration coming in is going to focus on like eco-friendly things. So there's going to be a lot of construction going on. So if you know someone that is looking for a job, it's typically easy to get into these type of fields. You don't typically need a degree. You just need to be connected and know someone typically. So don't sleep on construction at all. All right. So my next one is another one I just don't think people think about so much, but we should be, and it's supply chain. And supply chain is huge. Like when we're ordering things through Amazon, right? So I have a package in Amazon I just ordered and I need to go get it. But we're ordering through Amazon like crazy. We're ordering through Target. We're ordering through, all these different platforms. Well, how do these products get to me? So supply chain. If you think about truck drivers, trucking, that whole industry, that's under supply chain. You think about logistics analysts or coordinators, who are the people actually doing the math behind how can I get my product in 24 hours or same day sometimes through Amazon. This industry is huge and it will be seeing more growth especially now as everyone's staying at home and we're ordering things online. Truck drivers are very in demand. And it's like, actually, I'm glad that I'm not a driver recruiter because that would be tough. They see a lot of demand all the time. And truck drivers, you don't need a degree, you just need to pass certain certifications, be a good driver, don't have accidents, be safe. And you can make a good, just in general, $60K a year, depending on where you live in the United States. So I feel like people sleep on truck drivers though, and it's an industry where there aren't as many women. So anytime I would meet a female truck driver, I was always super interested because that is not our field, but one that does need that type of diversity. Oh, hello. Hi, Uno. I'm going to take a little pause to greet everybody. Hello. Denise, hello, welcome. Okay, thank you, Vernes Junk Closet. Let's see. The Life of Cleo, welcome. Thanks for coming. Thanks for joining, guys. All right, so I have just talked about a couple different industries that are going to see job growth. I'm going to continue through the list and then I'll kind of backtrack and then regroup on everything I said. So supply chain overall, definitely a great industry to get into. Now the job growth right now for logistics overall is just at 4%, but I do see this to change because this number came out last year and that was before our little health crisis. So, and actually I am at the last of my list. I did have a few honorable mentions, but generally the growth rate is about 3%. So anything that was closer to 3% right now, I did leave off. So the top ones were healthcare, particularly home health aid for those that just came in, RNs, nurses, and then sales, specifically medical and technical sales. And then I had finance. Now, something I didn't mention with finance is I talked about financial analysts, but something that I do see will be growing, and when I post out companies that are hiring a ton, I do that every week. Something I see every single time are loan officers. People in banking, like they are already projecting the need for anyone that has that type of experience. Something else that I guess could fall under finance is insurance. Insurance agencies are still hiring because they do see, obviously we're in a health crisis, so the projected need for life insurance, that demand is going to increase naturally. And different type of insurances will increase because again, folks are uncertain about their financial state right now. So and even their health state. So they want to make sure their families and things are good. So anything falling under finance or insurance is probably going to be in a good place, at least in the meantime. And I project there will be more demand come next year, 2020. All right. And then next up on the list, which again is my bread and butter, is tech. I am constantly talking about tech. I've been trying to not talk about it so much, but data scientists, machine learning, artificial intelligence, Internet of Things, geography, information services, cloud security, cloud database management, all of these different specific areas, along with your simple web developers and backend developers. Let me know if I'm speaking a foreign language, but these are some of the tech areas that are going to be really in demand. So again, if you know someone in school, if you know someone that's looking for a career change, they need to focus on those areas. Don't just go into tech and say, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do, or oh, I'm going to be like PeopleSoft or some random developer. No, you should specify you want to move into artificial intelligence or machine learning, because again, highly paid jobs, you're going to easily make 100K, just easily, with at least a few years of experience. At least 3 years of experience, you'll be making 100K. And I'm going to pause right now. Do you have any info on security systems? Yes. Well, if you're talking about IT security, now I do know about a few on-site security systems, but not in depth. I've been recruiting security specialists, like on-site security specialists, but when it comes to IT security, I would say the main companies, like the big companies, are looking for people that understand AWS or Amazon Web Services and Google Cloud, or GCS or GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So less on Azure. Microsoft Azure also has their cloud. A lot of companies, like where I am working at Nestle, we have more of a hybrid approach. So we're using Azure, Microsoft Azure, we're using Amazon Web Services, and we're using Google Cloud Platform for different products and whatever the need is required for our data and everything else. Now, that's what was shared with me with our IT team. And I think a lot of companies are doing the same. If you go and search for like an IT cloud security specialist out there, they're going to be looking for you to have or be ready to learn. Google Cloud is probably the biggest one right now, along with Amazon Web Services. I think more companies are kind of assuming that most people, if you're in IT cloud security, you already have Google Cloud or Amazon Web Services. But Google Cloud, there's more of a movement for companies to actually ask for it, or if you don't have it, they're a little more flexible and willing to train you, because Google does have their certificate that you can, I don't know what the cost is. It's not much, and a company can easily pay for it. Oh, thank you, Vernes. Okay, I'm going to stop and pause again. Edward, did that answer your question? I don't know if it did, but as far as on the IT security side, those are the systems that we're using, or the platforms we're using. Let's see. So folks are saying hi to each other. Cool. And thank you again, Vernes Junk Closet. So those were really the main things I want to talk about. Let me continue going down the list here. The other career area that I recommend is digital marketing. And again, that's anything from social media marketing to e-commerce to, SEO, someone that's good at using Google AdWords and getting companies to, if you type into Google, I want pizza, they want their pizza place to come up at the top. So someone that really understands how to get that type of placement is going to definitely be in demand, especially because a lot of, smaller and mid-sized businesses, they haven't been using social media. A lot of them, especially the smaller businesses, they've been using word of mouth. They're still taking like the old approaches to marketing, and they're not on YouTube, they're not on Facebook, they're not on Instagram, they're not really marketing to a level where they could be. And so they're missing out. And I do think more businesses will realize it as they continue to try to compete with these larger companies, especially now, because, you know, when you think of it, larger companies like Microsoft, they have cash on hand to where they can withstand if they're not getting as good of an income coming in. They can pay their people, whereas a mid-sized, a smaller company, they can't do that. So anyway, digital marketing, anyone that has that type of skill is going to be in demand. And I also think not only, you know, the big companies and mid-sized companies, but even individual, you know, people that have home-based businesses will start to contract people out on Fiverr and Upwork to get those services as well. Even people on YouTube, I've seen, if you guys haven't seen some of your favorite YouTube folks running their ads on YouTube, I'm sure they're doing it across other platforms and, you know, across their other businesses. So that was my stance on digital marketing. And with that one, even the beret of, and I don't know if I pronounce, I think it's Bureau, I don't know, of Labor Statistics, they did say in 2019, they had that rate of increase at 10%. And they said it would increase by 10% by 2026. And remember, I told you before, the average is about 3% of growth. So that's pretty wild. Welcome behind closed doors, Mildred. Nice to see you here. I'm going to put you up on the screen for a second. And so this was the one, again, I think people are sleeping on. But again, construction. The job will always be here. Always, 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 always. I don't think I need to explain more, but don't always think of it as just the actual construction laborers, because I know I'm not doing that. I don't think I'm physically made for it. But you know, if you think of project managers, if you just think about big construction companies, they're going to continue growing as people, you know, see opportunity with lower interest rates down. There's going to be more, you know, demand for either building houses, building these apartment complexes, as we see this shift away from cities to counties now, or suburbs, or I don't know where you're located. I know it's a different term for it everywhere, but you know, the outskirts of a city. You know, there's definitely going to be growth for that. That's something that's constantly going. And again, to my point earlier, with a new administration coming on board, typically we have a lot of projects that get started, a lot of infrastructure projects. And the last one was supply chain. So again, truck drivers, pretty much if you just think across the board, how do I get my products in general? How do I get this bag of makeup to my house? The folks that are managing that. So those were my tips. So I'm going to open it up for any questions. Let me see. Vernes, junk closet. Yes, and I remember that from the other live. So Vernes is in a place where she is looking, and she's looking for a work from home job. So Vernes, I will tell you, I shared a video. I share a video every week of companies that are hiring, and I do know that there were quite a few that were hiring work from home jobs. Off the top of my head, I remember Square, which Square owns Cash App. If you ever use Cash App, that's Square. They have been hiring just a ton of jobs. They've been seeing a lot of demand. And with Square, they've already said that they're pretty much work from home. The same with Microsoft. Any job at Microsoft is pretty much going to be remote. And I'm not talking about just remote for the right now, because everyone's pretty much remote, but they're saying like they're going to take a hybrid approach to work. So you're going to have some folks, if they can, work remotely. If they need to be on site, they will be. And then also, who are the other ones? Reddit, Microsoft, Square, Facebook, Pinterest is hiring a ton. Do not sleep on Pinterest. I shared a video and they are hiring marketing, HR, tech, of course, engineers. I mean, you name it. Pinterest is hiring a ton. I feel like they're pretty much in a hiring surge, and people forget about Pinterest. I feel like people just think of like Facebook, Twitter, but they're hiring. Snapchat was hiring at one point. I need to look up if they're still in like a hiring phase. I won't say hiring surge because they weren't hiring like crazy like Pinterest is now. The other one, General Motors has been hiring. I'm not sure if they have a lot of administrative or HR roles. Let me see here for a second. Okay. Of course, Amazon, the one thing about Amazon is they do hire, but I've heard mixed reviews about work-life balance. So you may be working remotely, but you may be working all day. Work-life balance and also pay, that might be a struggle. And then two, I think Amazon does offer remote roles, but just be careful of whether the job might be like, HR at one of their warehouses or something. Then you need to be on site, but otherwise, I kind of give Amazon a side eye sometimes, but I've heard some good things and heard some bad things. So I would check them out if you're looking, because they do hire across the board. Let's see. Oh, hello. Hi, Bobby Gibson. Thank you for the well wishes. Appreciate it. Okay, I got a question from David. What would be considered an above average salary in the United States? Good question, because I believe you are in Ireland, if I remember correctly. So average across the US, I believe, is about 60K. I believe it was at 60K. Let me look it up though, to be sure, because okay. Well, maybe it's a little less than 60K. Okay, so it's between 55 and 65,000. So I would, I don't know how much you're making now, David, but that's about roughly the average. So anything above like 65, you're doing pretty well. Or you're doing decent depending on where you live. Now, it's tough with the US because you have markets like, Cedar Rapids, Iowa, where the cost of living is very low. But then you have places like New York City, where the cost of living is higher, or Arlington, Virginia, or San Francisco, California. So that's tough. Let's see. Okay, so Vernes says, yes, I also do videos on work from home jobs. Have found a few, but I am just going to clear my head first. Yeah, I think that's good. So we talked before about like following any either termination or layoff. Yeah, you need some time. I gave myself a good week before I started, and I was like, I built a full plan where every week I knew exactly what I was doing that day. I would spend 5 hours searching for a job or doing my resume, something related to that, building my network, whatever. And then I would have I tried to keep it as a pretty standard work schedule. So that way, when I moved back into the work, environment, I wasn't like, oh my God, what is this? What is this thing called work? I got to come in here for 8 hours. So anyway, I did that to kind of keep my schedule together. David Maye, hello, welcome. Good evening from Montreal. We need more care workers for elderly, well-trained. I can't talk today, guys. Well-trained and paid. Yes, for sure. We definitely need that. I think I, I feel like it's tough work. So, that's the challenge. But yeah, I definitely agree. David Farrell says 100K would be great. I am telling you, tech careers, I mean, generally you're making about 100K after you have about 3 years of experience, depending on what it is you're doing and what your niche is. So, for example, if you're a business analyst, you may or may not be quite making 100K, depending on what your niche skill is. If you're a business analyst, but your niche skill is in e-commerce, which is high in demand, after 3 or 4 years, you're definitely making 100K. I can see that. Now, if you're a business analyst and you don't really focus on uh, anything really niche, maybe you're just focused on data, master data that these different companies have. They do need people to manage their data. Um, you may not be quite making 100K depending on where your experience level is. So it just depends. I would just focus on something, one, that interests you, because if you're not interested in it, either way, the pay, it really won't matter very much, because you probably won't do your job as well. But, focus on something that interests you and focus on something that is in demand and shows that there will be growth. Okay, David Farrell is saying true. I don't know what you were saying true about because I'm seeing your comment a little late. Okay, RCMP is always hiring in Canada, as well as the Canadian Armed Forces. David Maye, I don't know what RCMP is. What does that mean? What does that stand for? I know a few companies based in Canada, but not too many. Like I know Salesforce, for example, is in Canada. Oh, okay. See, Royal Canadian Mounted Police. Yeah, but I don't know about how are they paid there, David May? The Army Reserve is a good experience for young people. That's true. I agree with that. Just depending on what you want to do. I actually have a cousin that's she is, I want to say she's in the Army right now. But she has really enjoyed it. She wasn't quite sure about her career just yet. So great way to serve her country, and your education is paid for and all of that. So it's pretty nice. Got it, Edward. Thank you. Royal Canadian Mounted Police. So you know what? So right now I am recruiting for security specialists. If anyone follows me on Instagram, which is just jobs from Jess, then you'll know I shared something about security specialists. And so right now we're actually looking for someone that has worked for a police department. So it's a great way, if you're just burnt out from from working in the police force, that's a really nice career track to go into corporate security or to even go into private security, because when you are needing someone that's armed, of course you have to have certifications for that particular state unless you are at the federal level. So police officers, I mean, you can have a better career track. I know officers can't get paid depending on how long they've been working. But if you're just done with that life, you may want to look at corporate security. David May says, thank you. You're welcome. Oh, David's like me. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know what that was. I was like, what is it? Um, Hello, Wilk, welcome. Did I have to put you on timeout last time? I can't remember. I remember you from last time though. I can't remember exactly. I know there's someone I had to put on timeout. Edward, yes, I know that's your field, security. Yeah, so you can give me some pointers. I am looking for 2 security specialists right now. They have to be in St. Louis, Missouri, so I need to be certified in Missouri. So if anyone in the chat knows somebody looking for a job, or maybe they're in the police force, or maybe they're in security, yes, please let me know. Send me a message on Instagram, and I'll put my Instagram up if I can. Let me see. I might have to type it in here. Let me see here. Okay, here is my IG. Okay, so if you know people in security, let me know. Or if you need people, if you know someone that's looking for a job in general, I mean, let me know. I am definitely hiring a ton of tech, but I know other recruiters are hiring in other areas too. David Maye says, and guys, sorry, I know there is a delay. I always feel when I'm sending messages through YouTube, I'm like, what is taking this person so long to read my comment? It's because there's a slight delay. Let's see, RCMP salary started over 53,000 and go to 88 after a few years. Okay, that's not bad. That is not bad. David Farrell. Let me know if I'm pronouncing your last name right, David. Is it Farrell or Farrell? Do a little pronunciation deal in the chat. But David says, would I recommend buying stock in companies? Yeah. So it depends on what company. You know, I definitely will recommend if you're at a good company and you're offered the benefit of a discounted rate of where you can buy stock. Like, for example, companies will give you like a 5% discounted rate to buy their stock. Then why not? Now, I'm not a financial advisor, of course, but I mean, I think it depends on the company and their growth trajectory. I think the advantage you get as an employee is you get a lot of insider details. Like, you know what the company is going to do a lot of the times before it happens because you're working on these things, these different projects. So if you know that your company is growing in an area, like they're focused on e-commerce or they're, you know, building certain technologies that are going to be in demand or they are in demand. Like, for example, if you're working at Amazon right now, you should be buying their stock, right? Because you're working towards the company, but you should be getting something back too. Now, if you're at a place where you don't even like the company and they've got, you know, some sketchy stuff going on, probably not. Don't just buy any company. Then, of course, you do have to make sure you're diversified, right? Let's see. So many apps now. Yes, there are. Speaking of which, SoFi, which is in the financial industry, I know my last video, they have been hiring a ton. Okay, good benefits. Wait, what were you talking about, David Maye? Who has good benefits? Oh, the Canadian company. Are you talking about Royal Canadian? Second one. Oh, wait, Farrell. Thanks. So Farrell is how you pronounce your name. Okay, cool. Okay, great. Well, I think that was all of the questions. Let me go back up, make sure I didn't miss anything. Oh, I don't know if I responded back to Partly Cloudy, but hey, thanks for joining. Easy. Oh, I didn't see this one. Easy, hello from beautiful Alpharetta, Georgia. I wonder how things are in Georgia. I haven't been there in a while. I haven't been to Georgia. What was I there? December or January? Can't remember now. Let's see. I think I'm covered. I think I said hello to Uno. Oh yeah, and I did see this comment. So to the 100K, so 100K would definitely be, you know, more suitable. Like if you're, depending on where you're living, like 100K in New York is, you know, decent. 100K in another state like, you know, Missouri, you'll be living pretty well. So it just depends on what, you know, what's important to you. Now, of the job, careers in the trajectory that I mentioned, the ones that are going to pay you that level are probably going to be, all the tech areas I mentioned. Supply chain, not initially. So if you're in logistics analyst or coordinator or anything like that, or logistics manager, you're probably more so making about 80,000, depending on where you're working. And then of course, truck drivers, again, they're making about 60, but depending, overtime, things like that. But that is an industry that definitely wears on you. So you kind of have to weigh the pros and the cons for that one. Let's see. Construction, I didn't mention this, but the rate of growth for construction laborers is going to be growing by about 10.5% by 2028. So again, I keep going back to that because I'm just like, if you're a man, you're strong, you need a job, kind of easy. That will be what I would go to. And then we talked about sales that you can easily make 100K. There's even sales right now for healthcare. So with all these different plans that the government provides, they actually do. There are companies like, I think it's Lumeris and Centene, where they have sales departments where someone calls in, and when someone says they want to sign up for this healthcare plan, then they get a commission on it. So healthcare kind of goes across the board. So medical can include a lot of different things. Doesn't just have to be pharmaceutical sales or, or medical devices or all of these different things. So, okay, Vernes, I got your comment. She says, I am not looking for the money so much. I want to do something that is helpful to people and what makes me happy. I think that's important. I think that's so important because, I talk to folks where, they're in a field that they just don't want to be in. They don't like it. They don't get enjoyment out of it. They don't like their colleagues. They're not liking their manager. So many things can change in a job scenario. You switch leadership a lot. Especially these larger companies, the leadership changes are happening like crazy. And, if you're not in a field where you really like what you do, it's really tough. And eventually it does play out in your work. Like you could be a top performer, but eventually you're going to get burnt out. So I've had some conversations with folks that are just looking for a career change. And they're like, man, I've been doing this for 10 years. I have no clue what else I can do. But, after 10 years, you have transferable skills. You don't just have to do that one thing. It's just about marketing yourself in a way and doing the networking to get yourself in a door to talk to someone. Because a lot of times, I remember I actually had this scenario happen where this candidate, we were actually hiring for a senior business analyst. And on paper, they looked fine. But once I talked to this person, blew me out of the water, and the hiring team felt the same way. So it was like they went from thinking another candidate was going to be coming out on top and stronger just from the resume, right? Just by looking at the resume. And they didn't think the girl that ultimately got the job would be as strong just because of the resume she just didn't sell herself with the resume, didn't highlight all these great things she had done. And after the interview, literally we actually had two hiring managers. They were kind of teaming up on this one. But one of them said, this was the best interview I have had all year. And mind you, they had many interviews this year. And it just, again, it's like a reminder to make sure that you are looking at your resume as a job advertisement. Like that is your chance to catch someone. So for example, if I had gone and looked at the resume and was like, meh, this person over here is better, I'm going to go with this girl, then we would have missed out on someone. So I think, from a job candidate perspective, definitely make sure you're selling yourself the best way. But then also with companies and, my recruiters and my hiring managers, my HR managers, looking at resumes, trying to, when you can, be a little more flexible. And if you're seeing the person has some potential and they look, even worthy enough to have a conversation with them at least, then you want to move and take that step if you have the time. So I think that's important because who knows? We could have missed out on a great person. Yes, I know, Vernes. I was talking about a lot of HR stuff because of that. Let's see. Okay, bye, Pandy. Have a good night. Edward Smart, I'm going to put you up on the screen. I like my job, but there is a salary cap. Edward, what's the cap? I don't know if you want to share because then everyone will know your salary. But no, I understand that. And sometimes with the salary cap, it may just be where you're working. Like if you go somewhere else, you could potentially, get an increase. That's something I've always struggled with, like just knowing that if you've worked at a company about 3 years, roughly, the longer you stay there from that point, typically you're losing out on some money unless you're constantly, you're moving to a totally different area of the business or something where it's coming with a big promotion. But generally, even with the promotions, you're not getting at the rate of increase where you could be somewhere else. And so, sometimes the answer is to leave and maybe you come back. Like I've seen multiple people where they will literally leave a company just so they can get that market rate and get that, get the pay that they're looking at, that they want to be at, or is at the market because they were underpaid. And then they come back to the company a year later. I've even seen it happen as early as 6 months later. Just depends. Yes, Vernes has been there with you. 60K. Okay. That's fair. Yeah. With security though, I feel like if you're moving and you're in management level, I mean, there could be some opportunities for you, but it also depends on where you are. Because I think, Edward, you are in Hawaii. Like, are you based in Hawaii or were you just there for vacation? Because I remember that about you. I remember you were in Hawaii. I was like, oh, I want to be in Hawaii. I'm like, that sounds good. But yeah, I mean, security operations, I wouldn't say is as competitive. Like I think with security, on-site security, I did look up to the progression of that, and I want to say it was at 4%. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure it's at 4%. Let me see. Yeah, but that will have a lot to do with it as well. So that's why I tell people, like, especially students right now, where they're paying so much to go to school, and it's like, okay, you're studying, I don't know, arts or media arts. What are you going to do with that? Because I wish someone had told me to really look at what is the, progression of growth for your industry. And these kids are coming out of school and they have all of these loans and they don't even know what they're going to do. Like, I don't know if anyone in here listens to Dave Ramsey. Sometimes I just listen to some of these calls that he has with students or even folks that have been out of school like 5 to 10 years. And they're like, I can't get a job, or, or I'm making 30,000 a year, 25,000 a year. I think the lowest one I heard was this girl was making 12,000 a year or something. And then you ask them what your degree was, and sometimes people have master's degrees, and it's like, if there's no plan of what you're going to do after college, then, what's the point? So I know we don't normally talk about student loans, but, this is my chit chat hour. But I do feel like before students can get a loan, I think they need to have an actual written out plan to submit with their loan, because I think it is ridiculous that, as a 18-year-old, you can take out loans, but you can't drink, You can't rent a car. You can't do a host of other things, but you can take out like $40,000 to $100,000 loans. I don't get it. So anyway, I digress. What? What? Okay. Hi, Rice and Beans. Let's see what you're saying. What are you talking about? Just found out scam Cardone. So he's talking about Greg Cardone. Looks in the chat. He's like a real estate, I guess, mogul at this point. He is going to star on season 2 of Undercover Billionaire. Is he really? What? And I actually didn't know that Grant Cardone was a billionaire. I'm like, you guys have me looking up all kinds of stuff. And it comes right up. I just typed in Grant Cardone and it says his net worth. His net worth is $300 million. Okay. But he has $1.4 billion in real estate. Okay. I don't understand how that's gonna work. I thought with Undercover, maybe I'm thinking about Undercover Boss. I think I'm thinking about Undercover Boss. Edward Smart is in Hawaii. Mainland jobs on the same level pay more. Oh, so it's a Hawaii thing. Yeah, because I don't know much about the market at all in Hawaii. You know, like, I mean, who are the competitors? Like, who would you go to if you were looking for a job? So if you're looking to leave where you are, who are some of the competitors? Like, is it all, I mean, I know it's a lot of, tourism, travel, but what else is Hawaii known for? What other businesses are based in Hawaii? And I think for you, Edward, it's tough because if you're on-site security, I mean, you are limited unless you want to move into maybe IT security, that could be an interesting, transition to cybersecurity. You'll probably need some certificates. Again, Google has been saying they don't need a degree. They want you to get this certificate and they will train you. And I know particularly, they have a lot of remote jobs. Like, I mean, if you go on the website, you're going to see a lot of remote work. Hotel security. Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. So hotel security. So Edward, I would say, have a list of like all the hotels on that island, have a list and just keep watching them for different opportunities to see what's available. And then also see what are some, potential growth opportunities for you at all within the company. Because I feel like sometimes, and I think this is the sad part of HR, like sometimes we don't have a really good succession plan for every person. So sometimes folks don't even know, oh, I could move into this, function. Oh, I didn't know that. We're not so great, I don't feel like, at educating people about that or what it takes to get to another progression. So, either the manager does it or HR does that. And a lot of times we just don't. And I feel like that's a big miss. Because then, like, I've even been on teams where I'm recruiting for a role, and then out of nowhere, someone on the same person's team is like, hey, I'm interested in this job. And then the hiring manager's like, oh, yeah, they would be perfect. And I'm just like, what? Like, this person is literally on your team, and you didn't know they had an interest in this, or you didn't think to go, oh, who would be great in this role on my team already? And have that conversation. Like, it's a really big miss. So that would be my recommendation. Definitely start looking, just doing that research, and keeping an eye out and networking with other people. Just be careful, of course, because with Hawaii being smaller, people talk. So just be careful of who you're talking to. That would be my recommendation. Let's see. Rice and Beans is saying some stuff. We're talking about Grant Cardone. Oh man, I will say I don't really watch Grant Cardone a ton. I watch him on occasion because I just like his energy. So if I need like just like a motivation, it's kind of like Dave Ramsey. Like if you need a little motivation, Grant Cardone is a cool guy. Let's see what Rice and Beans is talking about. Well, you're right, Jess. Robert Kiyosaki says, why can you borrow money from a bank to buy a house but not to buy stock? Oh, so I think you're referring to the student loan. Yes. So I made a point about student loans. I don't understand why you can just get a student loan. Just get it. Like, oh, yeah, sign me up. 60K in debt, check. No, nothing required at all, just nothing. But if I were a student, like if I'm 18 years old and I wanted to take out a loan for a house, or if I want to take out a loan for a business venture, I would be looked at like they would probably deny an 18-year-old that, because I mean, what are you doing? What's your plan? What, you don't have anything. So, but it's okay to go into debt for a maybe possibility of getting a job. Like there's no guarantee that you get a job at the end when you complete school. And I know a lot of people, and again, I do think it affects, a lot of college students, but I feel like it does hit minorities a bit more, because I mean, I know a lot of folks that didn't even complete their degree and they still have to pay that student loan back. Now, I think it's stupid that they didn't complete their degree, but things happen in life. So let me see. Vernes has a certificate from Cornell. Go Vernes. Hey. But I may just start my own business. Yeah. I mean, I feel like after layoffs happen, a lot of time people will decide they want to start their own business. And at the point, so most people don't get laid off early in their career. Normally it happens at about the midway point and beyond. I have met one girl where she was laid off, I think, her first job, her first job, unfortunately. But other than that, I don't really know much about anyone that has been laid off in that way where they just started working. But I think it's a great opportunity because you've already got that experience where you can go and do whatever you were doing before and make your own business, or do whatever side hustle or whatever interests you and build your business, especially if you've already got some cash saved up, or you're more eligible to, get a loan from a bank. Definitely a possibility. Oh, hello, my friend in Australia. Hey. Hi, Peter. Good day from Australia. It is Monday in Australia, correct? These days are very trying, but with patience and hard work, anything is possible. That is true. I'm going to leave that up. That is so motivating. Yes. I mean, anything is possible. And you know what? It's interesting because during these times, actually, you actually do see, to Vernes's point, you see more businesses. You see more entrepreneurs. Like in the 2008 crash, more people started their own businesses. And so, some people will actually get ahead from this whole experience. Just depends on the outlook and what you do with it and what your resources are. And I think for everyone, just planning ahead for a what if is definitely helpful too. And Vernes, oh, I see you, Vernes. Vernes says, I've been in HR for several years. Yeah. And yeah, that's the thing, is that's when it hits you. I mean, with layoffs, they're getting rid of the folks that are actually depending on what the reason is. So if it's financial, they're cutting the folks that are, paid the most, but they can most likely, they can bring their work down to someone else. They can contract it out or whatever they need to do. They're, a little more disposable. And a lot of times it hits HR the heaviest, because HR is seen as, how are they affecting the business? They are costs of business. So we're not sales, we're not going out there, getting new clients, building and growing the business in that standpoint. So there's always been this struggle of how do we show that HR, has value. And within HR, I feel like the areas that are least hit are recruiting, a lot of times, HRIS or HR systems, whoever manages the systems, and compensation. The other area that is hit hard are probably the generalists, business partners, learning and development. Those are probably the hardest hit, and it is really unfortunate. Thinking back to my layoff experience, the folks that primarily were cut was learning and development. There was, I think, just one recruiter laid off, and then our talent managers, which are kind of like, a mix of training and, managing operations in the different stores. So kind of a mix, I guess, of, learning, because they would hold some trainings just depending on the need, and a generalist. Yeah, Vernes. Okay. Yep. Generalists. There's a whole process to it. And it's kind of like, it's weird working in HR, and I'm sure, Vernes, you feel this, because it's coming. Like, with my experience, I knew it was coming, and it's like, I don't know what's worse, like being surprised by it or knowing ahead of time, like, I think there's going to be layoffs, and having all night or even a couple days to think about it. Like, when are they going to do it? Because you can see the signs. Like, in my experience, I knew, like, okay, we need conference rooms. Why? You're being real sketchy. I see HR with legal. Okay, great. So who is it? Who's going to get it? So it's tough. But then with, the general population of work, they don't typically catch on to those little things, because they've never had to, actually administer a layoff or a termination or anything like that. Let me see. Peter says it is 11 a.m. Monday morning. Hey, well, have a great day, Peter. Great start to your day. I don't know what the weather's like in Australia. I feel like every time I see Australia on TV, it's like beautiful sunshine, beaches, greenery, little kangaroos jumping around. Hopefully it's a beautiful day in Australia. I definitely have a beautiful image in my head. And your picture doesn't help. Like, I just think of, just beautiful Australia. Rice and beans, how am I liking Texas? Texas is cool. I do miss New York. I miss the East Coast, and I miss that good old seafood. I mean, the East Coast has some really nice seafood. I've had seafood once here, and I'm primarily vegan, but I ventured out, and I did get seafood, and I wasn't super thrilled. When things start to move again, companies will be hiring again. It's in their best interest. Yeah. And Peter, companies are hiring now. It just depends on what. Now, I will say that some companies out here, which I don't like this at all, this practice. Now, some companies are saying, oh, we're going to post a job because we know once things settle down, we're going to have this need. So they will post a job and not really be hiring. So they're just kind of having it as a placeholder so you can get in a bunch of applications. And then once they're ready, they can go ahead and move forward. Or they are in a place where maybe they don't have the financial approval to hire, but they want to go ahead and move forward with the process because the manager, and I'm not saying this happens in my company, I'm talking from experience and what I hear from my HR friends as well, and what I'm seeing out there in the market. But they will go ahead and say, let's get this ball rolling. I'm sure I'm going to get this approval, and then they don't. And so what ends up happening is they've given this candidate all this hope, actually put them through an interview process, and they can't even move forward with the job offer because at that point the job is canceled. So it's tough. I always recommend job seekers ask, what is the timeline, for the company to fill the role? Because if the recruiter is very, very like, maybe in 3 months, if they give you like a extended time frame, that's not a good look. If they say something like, as soon as we can, we're looking for someone ASAP, we're hoping to fill this job within 30 45 days, yada, yada. That's more convincing. That's something I would say. Like, typically for me, I know the job is approved where I'm at. I'm working to fill the job in 30 days. Worst case scenario, probably 45 days. It's more realistic. But if you're getting some sketchy sounding stuff, then you may want to be wary. Of course, go through the process, get the experience, but maybe not be too optimistic, because it unfortunately is happening. I even talked to some of my job candidates. I asked them, like, what's the job process, going like for you? What's going on? And there are some companies doing that, which again, I don't like. Let's see. I think I missed some. And yes, Vernes was a generalist. Vernes, I have seen some generalist jobs out there, and some of them have been remote. So I hope you find something after you take your time to woosah, get it all out of your system. I am sure you will find something if you choose to go back to work. But if you choose to, start your own business, I am wishing the very best for you either way. I know you're going to be fine. Let's see, it's about presenting yourself and showing you what it takes to work, but chin up, your opportunity will open. Yeah, I agree with that. Definitely agree with that, Peter. Yes, Vernes, you're in New York. Yeah, New York is tough. Here's the thing, though. Yeah, New York is tough. But you can look anywhere. I mean, a lot of companies are just looking wherever because they don't really have to pay for relocation. Most likely, most companies aren't going to say like, oh, you have to be in the office next month, or you have to be in the office in 2 weeks. For most jobs, especially HR jobs, you can do that virtually. You don't have to be in an office. So HR generalists, definitely, you can look across the country. And even if companies aren't specifically saying remote, most likely it's going to be remote. So, and then of course, make sure you're looking for not just searching every time remote, but also using virtual, telecommute, all these different, synonyms that we can use. Rice and Beans says, yes, I miss New York. I do. I will say I don't. There are things I don't miss, but New York is just in its prime, exciting. There's a certain energy about it. There's certain things I can get in New York that I can't get here in Texas. The food is way better. And I will say I like Tex-Mex, but I guess I didn't think through like everywhere you go is Tex-Mex. Everywhere you go, like walk outside and there is like 5 Tex-Mex restaurants, even the American ones. It's like Tex-Mex. It's just like, I want something else. And there's some vegan options here, but the food is just not as good in New York. I mean, Vernes, you can probably back up that. And Rice and Beans, I know you're like probably more Jersey than New York, but I miss the food. I miss the food. All kinds of food. I could get anything easily. Left work at 1 p.m. I had an interview at 3 p.m. Hey, oh my God, I love it. That is what's up. Love it. So fingers crossed, Vernes. Hello, Fisher Coco. Welcome. Glad you were able to join. Vernes, this is not your first layoff, but I want it to be my last layoff. Boom. Yes, there you go. Well, the way you make it your last layoff is definitely that entrepreneurial life for sure. And of course, I know there's better companies, that are bigger companies projected for a lot of growth. But I mean, excuse me, as you know, layoffs happen for so many reasons. So some layoffs just happen not for financials. They just want to, maybe a new CEO has taken over or a new parent company. The company has been sold to a different parent company or is being sold to a parent company. And so now they have a holder and they're coming in, they're changing everything. There's so many reasons why layoffs can happen. even like a function. Like I had a situation where we had to close an office. We had to close office. So that meant layoffs had to happen. So it just depends. It is unfortunate, but again, I still see it as an opportunity. Even with my experience, I am still thankful for it. So, yep. Oh, hey, brown girl Bella, welcome. Nice to see you. Let me see. Companies can pick and choose. They have plenty of people to choose from, so you want to stand out from the crowd. Yes and no. There are plenty of people to choose from, but there aren't plenty of really outstanding people to choose from in your most in-demand field. So that's why a lot of the time I keep going back to tech and healthcare because, when you think about who kind of holds the cards in that situation where you're looking for someone with knowledgeable cybersecurity skill, there's just not there's this growth, so more people want it. So, there's high demand, there's low supply. So companies are willing to be a lot more flexible. So they may want a laundry list of things for this candidate to have coming into the job, but the market, they just can't find it. So then they start taking away and taking away and taking away and taking away. And maybe they just need these three things, which are basically the essentials of the job. These are the three things that they need to have. And, tech is the only industry where I have talked to folks where I question, where I have literally questioned how in the world this person is either functioning, has a job, if they are okay. They've said something just off the wall. Like that is the only industry. And so that speaks to the fact that these companies need this skill set, and so they're willing to be flexible. They're willing to be flexible on pay. They're willing to be flexible with personality. They're willing to be flexible with the requirements. Willing to be flexible with where the people work. Because you think about it, remote work, typically in most companies, it was solely provided for tech folks. Not everyone could, work remotely. And it's so weird with leadership. They don't trust working remotely. They think, I guess innately people cannot be trusted, but really when people work and have flexibility and work remotely, in general, of course you're going to have those, outliers, but in general we work harder, right? It's crazy that we still have this mentality, and there are even companies where the employees have been working remotely, doing their job and doing it well for like 6 to 8 months, and they're still like, no, we don't like this remote work thing. We're not doing this. Oh, thank you, Peter. How nice of you. I am always happy to share ideas. I am here pretty much every Sunday. I am debating whether I should show up next Sunday since it is Thanksgiving week. But I don't know if I'll be doing much. People are shutting down. They're telling people they can't have family gatherings. It's getting crazy. It's getting so crazy. Vernes is talking my language. Food. Oh man, all kinds of food: Jamaican, Puerto Rican, Chinese food. I don't like Chinese food, but I do like Japanese food. It's kind of weird. It's just, I think it's about the seasoning. Like Chinese food, yes, it's so greasy. I don't like that. As a kid, I was a super picky eater, and my mom would actually pick up Chinese food, and I would pick out the meat because I didn't trust it. Oh, and the onions. I would pick out onions and I'd pick out the meat. And so literally I was just eating rice and soy sauce. That's what I would eat. I would eat rice and soy sauce. And then sometimes I would get shrimp. I would eat the shrimp. But like if it was anything other than shrimp, I would just pick out everything and just eat the rice. So no, I don't like Chinese food. And then I would drench it with soy sauce. So literally I just like the taste of soy sauce. But everything else on that list, yes, that is a go. Because I definitely could not have that now because I am trying to keep my figure, for next year when we can go to the beach. Please, next year, please. I think when you go to a job interview, you must have that wow factor and be confident that you are the right person for the job. Oh, for sure, Peter. That goes without saying. And so that's why I put out a lot of content about preparing for an interview because, depending on the person. Now, there are some people that they just ooze confidence. They can interview on the spot and do it very well. But the majority of folks are just not good interviewers. A lot of people get very nervous about the idea of an interview. And so normally when I'm talking to someone about the interview, I am trying to tell them as much as possible. So if I have someone I'm preparing, I'm trying to tell them so they're not surprised. So I'm telling them about what it's going to look like, who you're going to meet with, how long it's going to be, where you can find additional information, just so there's no surprises. You want to be as prepared as possible. You want to know the company, you want to know the job, you want to know the details, you want to know ultimately why am I the best person for this job? Because you may get asked that question. And even if you're not asked that question, you want to be able to portray that during that job interview. And so the more prepared you are, naturally, the more confident you're going to be. I even talk about, folks eating and drinking certain things that throw them off, or what you wear can throw you off. I always go back to examples where people are sweating and it's like, you're clearly uncomfortable. Take off your jacket. Or, just different things where you are kind of stepping outside of yourself and you're not naturally being you, and then it makes you even more nervous. And typically people can see when you're not being yourself, and obviously you're not just going to be super unprofessional. You're not going to come in there and be like, kick your feet up and be super comfortable, but you're going to be your most professional self, but you're still going to be you. So again, the best you can do is to prepare, get sleep, drink your coffee or whatever you do to feel relaxed, and go in there, be yourself, be confident, and know why you're the best match and show it. Something too that people do sometimes because they're nervous is they will not show eye contact, and it comes off as being untrustworthy. So that's another thing that I talk about. So I have plenty of videos on that though. Hello, AB Career Match. Welcome. Thanks for joining. Happy to see you here. I just saw a video on your channel. So if you are folks in the chat, definitely check AB Career Match out. She has some good stuff on there. Brown Girl Bella, yes, this is the point. You work harder and longer remotely. Yes, people work longer because they no longer have the commute. And it's like, when you think about it from the company end, companies will be saving in the long term. They will be saving money because they can then, if their workforce is maybe even 50% remote, they can cut down the amount of real estate they need. Immediate, cost cutting there. Then they're cutting costs because they are not even operating, anything. They're not paying for lights. They're not paying for all these different things that we do on site to make it all friendly and things. All they would need to do most likely is have different events, maybe once a month or something, or once a quarter, to keep that engagement happening, have team events, whatever. But yeah, it's the mindset. So there is definitely going to have to be a shift. And, it's that old way of thinking versus a new way of thinking. Like, are people going to jump on board when other companies like Facebook and Twitter and Square and Reddit and Google, Pinterest, they're all saying like, hey, you guys can work remotely. We don't care. Well, other folks are going to see that and going to say, well, why can't I work remotely? And I'm actually getting that now as a recruiter. I am getting, plenty of questions about like, okay, this job I can do remotely. Why can't I do it? Let me see. Peter says, I agree. You should do research about the company so you know as much about the company and where it's heading. Yep. And show you or what the company needs moving forward. Yeah. And it's, you know what? And it's surprising. It's so easy to say, but you know that's true. People miss that. People don't do research to the point where they don't even know why they're interviewing. They're just kind of going with the motions, and that's super important. And I mean, if you haven't done the research, how do you know that you even want that job, you know? Okay, Peter, thank you for joining. It is lunchtime. Enjoy your lunch. Hope you have something great. And I will see you next time. Yes, stay safe as well, Peter. Okay, Vernes is going to check out AB Career Match. Great. Brown Girl Bella. Exactly. In New York real estate. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started. Yes, it's so expensive. It's so expensive. And, you know, here's the thing. I mean, even with companies providing, like, okay, they're already going to provide you a computer, provide, you know, a little stipend or something for them to set up an office at home. Done. You know, they don't have to worry about commuting. And here's the other thing right now, schools are closing down. This back and forth with school is closing down. So what are we going to do with, you know, our parents? What are they going to do with their kids? You know, or is the company going to pay for them to have childcare? Or is it easier for them to say, you know, these parents can work from home. You guys figure out what you want to do. Bam, easy. But it is tough. It's like a struggle. Oh, wow. It is nearly, I've been on here a little over an hour. That is not my norm. I'm normally done at an hour's mark. So I will be getting off of here soon, but I'm so glad to see everyone. I'll probably give it a couple more minutes. Google said they aren't going back until maybe the summer of 2021. Yes, that is true. And I actually just made a full list. Let me see if I can find it. But I had made a list of companies that were saying, you know, they're not going back. They're not going back to the original model. Let me see. Okay, so I actually have it. That was quick. So work from home indefinitely. Microsoft is going to have a hybrid. IBM has been saying 100%. Square, who again, they own Cash App, they're saying 100% remote. Twitter, remote. Facebook, remote. Reddit, remote. Dropbox, which if you've heard of Dropbox, they're in the tech space. They're in cloud, like data, so your items can be secure. They are 100% remote. Atlassian, they are also 100% remote. They're another huge tech hub. I wish I had bought stock in them. I have a cousin that works there. They're based in Austin, and their stock is like $300 or something crazy at this point. But anyway, Infosys, they have about 50% to 33% of their staff remote. And also, of course, Amazon, Oracle, PwC, Deloitte, Cerner, Ernst & Young, Accenture, they've all been saying they are working, they're remote, just remote. And then when you get to the tech companies, you know, or the tech specific roles, you have people like Aetna, Pinterest, Clorox, Blue Cat, all these different, you know, giant companies that are saying, hey, you guys can work remotely indefinitely. You guys can just work remotely. So there is definitely going to be a shift. I think the companies that shift the quickest will have a better, well, you know, just a better chance at getting the top performing, you know, people in general, especially in the tech space. And if you think about companies that aren't able to get the right tech talent, that's going to kind of slow their growth down. So I think that was my last point here. Let's see. Google gave their employee $1,000 to set up a work office at home. Yes, good point, Brown Girl Bella. That is a good point. And I think a lot of companies will provide a stipend like that. And I think that's smart because at the end of the day, they're saving a ton of money. Vernes says, yes, some companies were giving office compensation. Yes, definitely. And you are welcome, Edward. I am always happy to share advice. That is what my channel is all about. So with that, thank you guys for joining. I am right at the mark here. I've been on here for about 1 hour and 30 minutes is what I am told by StreamYard. So I definitely appreciate everyone for coming. It was a great conversation. I've learned a few things myself with this combo. To Vernes, all the best to you. I will see you out here on YouTube at another time, of course. Brown Girl Bella, same to you. Definitely stay safe there in New York, both of you. And yeah, that is the video. Again, my name is Jessica Hicks. If you are joining post the live stream, I am a corporate recruiter. I post content that's all about jobs and companies that are hiring, to job tips and advice for you on your search. So I will see you in my next video or my next live stream, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.